Let's do a quick crash course on Elementor's loop grid for anyone that is still getting used to it or hasn't delved into it. It's super simple and we're going to crack it right now. I've already created some example posts inside of WordPress. There's nothing fantastical about them. They got a title, there might be a description, but they do have a featured image. And I've also assigned them to some categories. So over here, we've got a range of categories and I've put them to different ones because I'm just going to show you how you can bring them over in a loop grid. I mean, why would you use a loop grid anyway? You already have widgets inside of Elementor for posts and archive. I'm going to very quickly show you why they're not such a good thing and why the loop grid gives you so much more power. But remember, you got title, you might have a description, we got categories, and we've got featured image as well. Now I'm going to jump into a blank page. Now for the loop grid to work, you do need to be using Flexbox containers, and by default that should already be active within Elementor. But if you're still using section and columns, go over to WordPress, Elemental settings, the features, and make sure you've enabled Flexbox containers. If I go over here and I go and type loop, you're going to see loop grid and loop carousel. And everything I show you here, you can do with the carousels if you want to have your posts moving left and right or whatever. Let's start off with the post widget because this is the one a lot of people tend to be using. And what you get is the featured image. You might get some description coming in, maybe if you're already showing it. You get a title, you get some metadata and a read more button. If I go to the style tab, I'm just going to make my content title be a little bit darker. You can tinker with the width of the images. You can tinker with the ratio of the image as well. You can change the title or the excerpt. Are you going to show any of that? If you suddenly said to me, I want the title to be above the featured image, you can't do that unless you use a third-party plugin. Maybe you want to put the read more button above, or maybe you want to have like a pill or a button. Maybe you want to have another image from the post visible on here as well. You are very much restricted. And even though you do have these different skins, like you got classic, you got cards, which looks like that, which is very, very big, or the full content, which I wouldn't always recommend you do unless you're going to show all your posts, you are very, very limited. And yeah, I know you can modify how many posts you're showing. So for a good long while, this is what we were using, and you might have used a third-party plugin to refine this, but ever since we had the loop grid a long time ago now, that is what you should be using. And you don't just use it for your posts. You can use it for your products. You can use it for demonstrating categories as well. It is super powerful and super useful. Let's get rid of this and add in a standard loop grid. Go back over to our widgets and I'm going to type in loop. And like I said, what I do in the loop grid, you can do in the loop carousel as well. Let's go and drop in the loop grid. Here now, you're told to create a template. And this might scare people. Oh, I'm not used to doing templates. Why do I have to do this? Don't be. This is no different to you building like a container. And the idea with the loop grid is it keeps looping through that template and it applies it to your post. Now you can have different templates applied as well, but we're going to keep this simple. Start off with a standard template and then I'll show you the alternate template. And by the way, go and check out our $1 business packs if you want to help you, your client, and your business to be more successful with loads of ideas and things that we use on a daily basis. Now, before we jump into modifying the template, you do get to choose whether you're working with posts, products, or maybe the post or product taxonomy. What's the difference? Well, that's going to be your WordPress posts. That's going to be your WooCommerce products. This one is going to be the taxonomy. So maybe I want to have a loop grid of just the categories. So it'll say consultants, flowers, home. It will just show that. But let's just keep it simple and go for posts. We could click create templates here. We could click it over there and we start from afresh. Or we could actually go and select one. So I'm just going to type in loop because I've got loads of templates there. This is my fake example tutorial website. So you could, if you want, go and pick one. So if I was to pick, say, this one here, it's going to bring over a very basic rubbish looking template. But if you've already built it, you can summon it back again. I'm going to get rid of that because we're going to build one from scratch. Let's go and hit create template. It's going to ask you if you want to save. You just go and say yeah. And then this is it. You literally have now a blank screen. And if I go and do the navigator, you'll see here there is nothing there. So here's the very first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go and add in the post title. So there was a container there. Now, sometimes when you go to edit, it will already have the container there. What it's returned is the latest post title, which was post 12. Now, if you had it in the other way around, like ascending order, you'd have post 1, but by default, it always shows the latest post. I'm going to show you how to modify that later on. But all we're going to do at this stage is just bring over what we want to show, and then we're going to refine how it looks. We've got a post title. If you had a post excerpt, we could bring that over. I actually am not going to show the post excerpt. I mean, if you want to modify it, you could do, go over to style, your typography, your text color, left align, right align. I'm not going to show that, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And by the way, I accidentally clicked it outside of the container, so it went and dropped in another container, but normally it would just go into the same container. You've got post title, post excerpt. You can actually bring over all of the content as well. So maybe you don't just want to show like a sample or an excerpt of that, so you could do that. I'm going to get rid of that for a moment. We've got featured image and we've got post info. Now, these two are pretty important. So I'm going to add in the featured image, and we're also going to go and add in some post info. So you can see over here on the navigator, we got title, featured image, and post info. I'm going to go to the post info, and I'm just going to make it be a little bit easier to see. So what we get are the author, the date, the time, and the comments. You can rearrange them, or you could get rid of some of them. So maybe you don't want to see them at all. But what if you now want to convert that to show you the category? Because do you remember I said that my posts were assigned to a category? I'm going to go and click on author, and I'm going to change the type to be terms. And over here, I'm now going to pick my category. So let's go and pick it. Consultants and flowers. So post 12, if we go back over to my post, and I've jumped out of it, we go over here, you will see consultants and flowers for the category. It's now showing it. Do I want to have an icon? Yeah, I could either pick a custom one or I can hit none. Do I want to have this linking over? So when this is active, if you click consultant, it will now take you to a page that shows you all the other consultant posts or flowers as well. I'm going to just take it off. I mean, I'm just showing you that you could have it there. And again, you could modify the typography. You've got all your settings here. It's no different to what you would normally be doing. Change the size, the letter spacing, the word spacing, all of that. What's really good about this, though, is that I have pretty good damn control over what I'm doing. And you're going to say, but couldn't you do this in the post one as well? Because you were able to modify the typography and the positioning. Yes, but I can now pick the post info and stick it under the title like that. Can you see what we just did there? I can take the post title and maybe stick it underneath the image or in between. I could even go and take this title. Well, let me show you in stages, right? If I take this featured image, let's go and convert it to be a full. Let's go to the style of this. I could maybe now make it be a round image, 300 like that, and set it to be a cover. Change the radius to be 1000. There's so much you can do here, whereby with the post widget, you are restricted to the structure. So if I was to now make this like be super tiny, say 50-50, I mean, that's a ridiculous thing to do with your featured image, but I just want to get across what we're doing here. If I was to now just pop this back to be something like that, so now we've got the title, the image, and the categories like this. If I go to my container and I now turn it to a row, we have got a crash course video on how to understand Flexbox containers. Please go and watch it. I'll pop a link to that in the video description if you're a bit unsure. But if you were to now look at this and I go and hit the wrap, I've now got my title. Obviously, I'd make the title be smaller, but I've got my title, image, and then my categories. I've got literally full-on control over how I want to make this look. I can go to the container. I can go and give it a background image. Let's just go with something that's off-white. I'm going to give it a border of 20. And I'm now going to go and add in some padding, and we'll go with something like 10 like that. If I go and hit save and back, you're now going to see what happens to all the other posts. So look, here's my post now. Think of how it looked when we had the post widget and how boring and flat it looked and everything. I can do what I want here. I can modify the color. I could drop in icons. I can do anything I want, but this is really, really simple. I'm now just going to show you a few of the things you should bear in mind, because at the moment, if you click this, it's not really going to go anywhere. So I'm now going to go and get a button widget. And by the way, I have hit edit template. So I'm back into my template. So I'm now going to go and drop in a button, say over here. In fact, let's just go to our container and I'm going to set it back to be a column so everything is stacked. So here we got a button. You can stylize this button to be however you want. Do you want to have a background color? Do you want to have a transparent color or whatever? The idea is that when you've added in this button, let me click on it here. Over here where you have the link, you don't want to set it to go to a certain page because it will repeat that for every single post, okay? What you want it to do is to go to the exact post that you are clicking. So what you do is you click the dynamic tag over here and you just click post URL. It's literally written for you there. You click that, that will now go to the relevant post. And then when we hit update and then I hit save and back, that will now repeat. Look at that, click here. If I was to go over there, if you just look in the bottom left, you will see down here the link. So you can see it says post 12. Over there it says post 11. And there it should say post 10. And that is exactly what it would do. But you can make this be even cleverer, right? If we go and hit edit template and I now go to the title, that's the post title. We could make it smaller. I can change the HTML tag. At the moment, when you click that, it doesn't go anywhere. Well, I could again go to the link, go to dynamic tag and say post URL. I could go to the image and go to the content. That's not really going anywhere either. So I could go into none, go and hit custom URL, hit the dynamic tag again and do post URL. So when you now update and we go save and back and we preview this, if I click over here, that's not going to take you anywhere. Remember, I said I don't want to add any links to my post info meta, which was the category. But over there, we get a link. We'll also get a link on the image and we also get a link on the title. So if you don't want to have a button, because you just don't want to have a button, you don't have to do that. Let me now just show you a few final other tricks that you can do. So we're going to go to the edit template. Let's go back over to where we have our categories over here. If I go to the content, we have our terms. I'm going to click that. And you'll notice here that I did not mention the before because I wanted to wait until we get to that stage. So I'm now going to say over here, category. And we now have the word category appear before that. How cool was that? Well, how about I go back to my image, get rid of the border radius, modify the height of the image to be 180. I'm going to go and set it to be a top center. So you get, quite a bit of control over it. I could swap the title and the image over. So now the title is below. And then I could go to the image. Now there's many ways to do this. You could use like some absolute positioning. But I'm going to show you a really simple way because some people don't like to always use absolute. So I'm going to go to my title and where we have the top margin, I'm just going to decrease it and it will now move over the image like that. Let's go for 65. Let's add in a little bit of left margin as well. By the way, you will have noticed that all of these went funny. Don't worry because we're only working on the single template at the moment. And then I'm going to make my title be a white color. Now, I know what you're going to say. This is not going to be exactly clear as to what we see, but I just want to show you how this would work. So if I now do save and back, you will now see my title is kind of over all of my images over there. Again, this is something you would have used a third-party plugin for if you were trying to do this with the standard post widget. And that is why the loop grid is massively your friend for what you want to be doing here. And of course, if I go back into edit template, if I wanted to go and drop in, say, another heading, maybe down here, and I go and say our latest post, and I'm just going to shrink the wording down. Obviously, you would modify this for the mobile as well, and I'll quickly show you that. If we go to responsive mode, you would tinker with it. So make sure the sizing, the widths and everything are okay for your different breakpoint and devices. But I'm just showing you the desktop at the moment. So if I hit save and back, because I've gone and said the word our latest posts, it now repeats it. So when you go and stick in an icon or an image that you want to repeat, it will show it there. But if you ensure that you're using like the post info or the metas or the title or the images, it will only pull over what is relevant for that particular post. Now, what if though you wanted to have a different style when you get to say post number 10? Maybe every third post or maybe every other post you want a different style. This again is the beauty of Loop Grid. And by the way, we haven't even got onto the query settings yet, where you have a ton more control and you're going to love that when we get to it. So let's just go in and click on our loop grid. So at the moment, we are using loop item 3491. That's what it's gone and created because when we did create template, it goes and assigns these random numbers. Well, they're not totally random, but it assigns these numbers. And we do, at the moment, we're showing 3 posts. And if I change that to be 4, you'll have 4. And if I change that to be 2, you'll have 2. By the way, the reason why it's gone off the screen over there is just because of my resolution that I'm using at the moment. I now want to show you how you could apply a completely different template. Now, to make this easier for yourself, I'm going to edit our current template. And you may feel like, God, you keep going back and forth. I'm just showing you how easy it is and how there's no delay in what we're doing. I'm going to copy this entire container. I'm going to create another version, but I'm going to just reuse what I've already got. Let's just go and hit save and back. So I've now copied our template container. Let's ensure that we have clicked onto our loop grid, which is over here. And we're not going to edit this. We are now going to apply an alternate one like this. Oh, by the way, I should mention, you do have the masonry effect. So if you had posts that had different size titles, if you are not going to have them all consistently sized based on the size of your container and you went for masonry, you'd get like the brick effect. So you might have some like that, some like that, some like that, a little bit bigger. That's okay. I tend to say just ensure everything is equal height. So we are now going to apply an alternate template. So we click that and it will now basically allow you to pick another template. So if I was to go and say, pick one of my other rubbishy ones, in fact, why don't we just do that, right? Let's pick one of my other rubbish ones, right? So I've now enabled this other template. So that's the one we're currently using, 3491. And I've now said use 3321, but I haven't said where or when to use it. So I'm now going to say use that for every second. And you will now get a different style. In fact, that's a rubbish one. Let's not go for that because there's practically nothing there. It's just a title. That was a bad example. Let's go for this one. So we'll get a title and a big red button. That will apply for every second post. So post number 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. In fact, it's the other way around because we're in descending order. So it'll be 11, then it will be 9, then it will be 7. Okay, so it's every 2. Now, the reason why it's not repeating is because it does say apply once. So when I untick that, can you now see the style we got? Let me just get rid of this screen over here. So 11, 9, and 7 now have a completely different style. But if you had ticked this over here, apply once, and let's now go for maybe number 3. So post number 3. So can you see how you can apply completely different styles? But here's what is really, really cool. We're not going to use this, okay? So I'm going to get rid of that. We are actually going to create a brand new one. So create template. So I've just shown you how easy it is to create a template. You're just using container. I'm going to go here and I'm going to paste. That is our original container that we had already built. Don't worry about the wording and all of that because it's just slightly off because of the size of the image. I'm going to take this title. I'm going to get rid of those margins that I did over there. I'm going to pop it back in to be dark and we're going to pop it over the image like that. And I'm actually going to get rid of the post info. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of the button as well. And I may do something a little bit crazier where I'm going to go to the style. I'm going to make this be, no, we won't go like that. That's way too brash. We'll just go with that. So I've given it a completely different style. And I could do the same to the image as well, right? I could give this some rounded corners or anything. So I've now created a different template. I then click update. When I go back to my page, I will now see that other template and it kicks in at position number 3 and it applies it once. I'm going to change it to be number 1. Let's just get rid of the navigator. So my post 12 now has a different look. Again, you would have been playing with third-party or other premium plugins to start applying alternate style. But notice here it says column span 1. I'm going to change that to be a 2. Look at post 12 now. Now, I have intentionally just stuck in the image, but if I had thought about this more and set my image width to be a certain size and maybe added in more content or whatever, this is what you would be seeing. Post 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and 7. In fact, I can go and add in a few more. So let's go and add in, make it a bit more bigger number. There you go, look. Can you see now on your post page or even your product, maybe you really want to get across how amazing your latest post or product is. This is what you would be doing. You would have an alternate template and you'd be spanning it to just show a load more. And if I was to go and change this to be a 3, well, look at that. It's now gone all the way across. So now I'm really getting across that you want to be reading our post. In the old days, you would have 2 post widgets, maybe. You'd have one post widget which had a column of 3, and you had another post widget which was just one post and one column. So you were duplicating the post widget twice there. But this just allows you to sort it out. Let's just stick it all back to 1 for now so we can see things nice and easily. Let me know in your comments if anything I've shown you at the moment did not make sense, and go and check out our $1 business packs. The link is in the video description. Now, the very final thing I want to show you on here is that if we again click on the loop grid, and we go to query, this is where the loop grid becomes mega powerful. We're currently looking at posts. I could pull through pages. I don't really think I should do because it's going to look ridiculous because there's no images or featured images assigned to them. You can just about to see the titles, cart, shop, checkout, test and stuff like that. It's not a good thing to do. If you got a custom post type, which I will talk about in the later video, you would go and select that here as well. If you had products, you would go and pull over your products and it would start to bring over your products and their descriptions or titles or however you set it. But I'm just going to leave this as post for now. But this is the really powerful bit, okay? How are we ordering it? By date, title, or how it was added? Are we doing ascending or descending order? You go and hit ascending and look, we now have post 1 and things go and shift around a little bit. What are you going to include or exclude? Now, you may look at this and go, well, what does that mean? Don't we want to include everything? Remember I said we had different categories, and I've got some here that have got room and some that haven't. If I go in here and I go and pick term, and by the way, you could pick author as well, but I'm just going to go here now and I'm going to type in room. I can now select my category. Now watch this, watch the posts, okay? When I pick room, we've only got 3 posts with room. You're going to say that does not say room. It's an alternate template. Remember, I removed the category, but trust me, that has got room in there. What if I was to say, actually, it's got to be room and flowers? I could do. So I can pick multiple categories. So now you have to satisfy room, check, or flowers, or room, or maybe you're just flowers. Can you see how they're coming through? That's how cool this is. But at the same time, you may also want to exclude. So I could go to exclude and say, show me everything, but I actually don't want you, and you have the option for current post, manual selection, term, or author. I'm going to go to term, and I may say, definitely do not show me any uncategorized. Most people fail on that. There's like a dummy or a fake post somewhere. Get rid of it. And maybe we don't want to have flowers. Okay, let's get rid of all the flower posts. There we go. And I'll tell you what, let's get rid of the office as well. That's probably going to leave me with practically nothing there, I bet. Or maybe just 1 or 2 posts. There we go, just got 1 post. That's the only post that satisfies all that criteria. Why would you do that? Maybe you've got a page which is all about case studies. You just show just the case studies. Maybe you've got like 20 product categories, but you don't want to show hats on this shop page because you've got a completely separate designed page for your hats. It's got a completely different look, images and content and videos and whatever. Fine, include and exclude what you want to go for. But that's not all you can do. In the include, the options are pretty self-explanatory. But when you go to exclude, you have an offset appear. You also have avoid duplicates, but the offset is the really key one here. Notice here it says post 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Watch what happens when I offset by 1. Post 12 disappears. Now post 11 has the alternate template because we said apply for the very first post, and we can remove that as well. But now offset means skip the first one. If I go and say skip 3, it's going to skip the first 3 in the date descending order. So now we start at post 9. So maybe you're going to have 2 loop grids on your page. You don't want to mess around too much with alternate templates. Maybe post 1 is going to look like a certain way, and post 2 and 3 will look a certain way. And post 3 is where you're now doing maybe a standard grid-like look like this, with just boxes and columns and whatever. So you may want to offset your first 3. You can offset your first 5. You can offset as many as you want. Look, we've now jumped over to 7. So there are features available for you inside of the loop grid, which just make it so much fun and powerful to use. Hey, look, I'm Imran Web Squadron. I hope you enjoyed the loop grid. Check out our business packs. I'll keep seeing you.